So, welcome back children to our circulatory system part 6. Okay, today we'll know how it evolved. So, in the beginning there's just ocean water, sea water, right? So, the movements of sea water transported everything. The genetic material used to float freely in the sea water, but later there came a limiting membrane, a cell membrane, and so it covered all the cell structures, nucleus, everything, and within that cell membrane there is a fluid called as cytoplasm, semi-solid fluid cytoplasm. So, that cytoplasm exhibits Brownian movements, means it moves like how are water currents, just like that there are currents in the cytoplasm, means the fluid movement which ensures equal transport of equal proper distribution of substances throughout the cytoplasm, right. So, that is seen in unicellular organisms, I mean amoeba. Within its cell this happens, and this feature is also retained in our cells also. We are higher animals, but still in our cells, in our body cells, our cytoplasm is still showing Brownian movements to ensure proper equal distribution of things throughout the cytoplasm, to all the organelles present in the cytoplasm, right. Now, to start with, we will see what are parazoans. What are parazoans? Sponges. They are present deep inside the sea. They can't move. The name of those organisms are sponges. So, what is it with sponges? The sea water, it enters into the sponges and it transports all the nutrients. Now, these sponges, they even developed a feature. They have a flagella also, which shows movement, and that movement also transports the things, circulates nutrients throughout its body, right. Now, that is the simplest circulatory system. Then evolved a next structure, a next organism called as jellyfishes. Jellyfishes, even hydra, they come under cnidarians, cnidarians, means nettle like structures, net like structures. They are also present in the water, within the oceans, okay, within the ocean. So, they are having a cavity inside their bodies called as gastrovascular cavity. Gastro means it does the function of a digestive system and also the function of a vascular system. Only one single cavity simply finishes these two functions, okay. There is no much complication. Then what happened? Then came flatworms. In them, see, I have shown you there. So, this is the flatworm. Its body is segmented. Throughout the body it has segments. In each segment there is separate unit of digestive system as well as excretory system. Why? To do the function of digestion and also to remove the waste. Excretory system takes care of removing the waste materials from its body. So, that is how circulation happened in these flatworms. Flatworms example is if we don't cook the pig meat properly, if the pork is not cooked properly, what will be there in the pork? This flatworm, this platyhelminthes, the structure which belongs to this category, that is the tapeworm. It will get into your body and cause many problems. So, that is a flatworm. Now there came roundworms, means Nematyhelminthes. Roundworms, they are having something called as pseudocoelom. Pseudo means Pseudo. Here, pseudocoelom. What is a coelom? It is a fluid filled body cavity. Coelom. So, pseudocoeloms came. Pseudocoelom is seen in these roundworms. I will tell you how, from which organs are these coming, okay. First, when we are in embryonic stage, in the embryonic stage of organisms, there are 3 germ layers, 3 basic layers which give rise to all the body structures, okay. What are they? ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. See, ecto means outer. This ectoderm, it gives rise to structures like nerves, okay, epidermal structures like hairs, nails, skin. These structures come from which germ layer? Ectoderm. And connective tissue structures like muscles, bones, these come from which germ layer? Mesoderm, meso, middle, okay. And internal organs and digestive system, internal organs like liver, lungs and pancreas, these structures, they come from which germ layer? Endoderm, E-N-D-O, okay, endoderm. So, see here, this is the ectoderm, this is the ectoderm, and following it is mesoderm, and following that is endoderm, and this space is the gut, digestive cavity, okay. So, these roundworms, now these roundworms, they are having pseudocoelom. Where is it present? It is, see, this region is pseudocoelom, it is present within the mesoderm. See, this outer layer is ectoderm, following it is mesoderm, even this is mesoderm, right. So, I am sorry, even this is not mesoderm, this is endoderm. See, pseudocoelom is present between this germ layer and this germ layer. What is this? This is mesoderm. And what is this? This is endoderm, and there is a fluid filled body cavity called as coelom, that is pseudocoelom, present between mesoderm and endoderm. So, if the coelom is present within the mesoderm, then it is called as eucoelom or true coelom, okay. If it is present between mesoderm and endoderm, then it is called as pseudocoelom. It is not true body cavity. True body cavity is always enclosed within the mesoderm, okay. So, these roundworms, what started forming pseudocoelom appeared, and that is lined by mesoderm on one side and endoderm on the other side, okay. So, that pseudocoelom took up the function of this circulation in the roundworms, okay. Now came eucoelom or true coelom, which means I told you it is covered, it is lined on all the sides by the mesoderm itself, okay. That feature developed in annelids, means earthworms, okay. And in earthworms there is also closed circulatory system, means blood vessels, blood flows only inside the blood vessels, okay. Now see what happened in arthropods, means cockroaches, there is open circulatory system. What is open? Means the blood does not flow in any vessel, it is just, it diffuses everywhere, all the body cells and tissues of the cockroach and insects, they are bathed in the blood, okay. So, this is how the circulatory system evolved. Now, the most advanced system is closed circulatory system, okay. The blood is channeled properly, and pure and impure blood also does not mix like in double circulation. So, this closed circulatory system, double circulation, these features are seen in higher animals like mammals, and so the circulatory system evolved to a much better level, okay, in higher animals. It started from parazoans, and like this it happened. Now, let us see what is about BP. We know it is blood pressure, and it is measured by an instrument called as sphygmomanometer, 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 and it is measured in which area? In our upper arm, the artery in the upper arm. It gives us the pulsations, just like when the heart is pumping out blood, they have ventricles, right, lower chambers of the heart. When the ventricles contract, there is more pressure, this 120, the reading will be 120 mm of mercury, Hg means mercury, and when the ventricles relax, it will be, it comes down to 80. So, what is contraction? Means systole. What is diastole? Diastole means relaxation. So, ventricles are contracting to push the blood into the arteries. So, when the arteries are coming, when the blood is coming into the arteries in the upper arm, we can feel the pulsations. So, this is how BP is measured. In resting position, the BP will be normal, but during exercises or running or any other strenuous activity, the BP will be a little high. And also for a well built person, for a person with big personality, for a person with more weight, BP will be more, and a person of less weight, the BP will be less. For children also, for children the BP will be less, because they are small in height and weight. Okay, so BP differs according to your height, weight and age. Now, while in resting state also, if your BP is more, then it is called as high BP, means hypertension. What happens in hypertension? What are the symptoms you feel? You feel dizziness, lightheadedness, like and also you feel chest pain, pounding of your heart, means the heart, you can know your heartbeat, like something is your chest cavity gets pressurized and you will feel chest pain, and also that leads to stroke also. You can also feel headache, you will get headache, this dizziness, chest pain, these are the symptoms of high BP. So, in resting position the BP should not be too much. Okay, and there is also something called as low BP, means the reading, it comes much less, much low reading, it is low BP. What happens? The person will faint. Okay, low BP, the person will faint. These are the symptoms: fainting, vomiting sensation, means nausea, vomiting sensation, fainting, and dizziness, lightheadedness. Okay, these are the symptoms of low BP. So, if the in a normal healthy adult, under normal conditions, the BP is generally 120/80 mm of Hg. Okay. Now, let us see about blood clotting. Clotting or coagulation, both are same. So, when we have a cut or a wound, when we have an injury, what happens? The blood, it comes out, and then platelets which are circulating inside our blood, they get activated and they release an enzyme, thrombokinase, THROMBOKINASE. This enzyme, it activates prothrombin into thrombin. Prothrombin is an inactive form of thrombin. Okay. So, thrombin, spelling THROMBIN. Okay. Pro means inactive form. Okay. Now, thrombin converts this soluble fibrinogen into insoluble fibrin. Fibrin is insoluble. See, you can see the fibrin threads like this, like fibers. Okay, they seal the wounded area, cut or wound, anything, they seal it, and the red blood cells, blood contains solid portion called as blood cells, right? These red blood cells, they are trapped, they get trapped between these threads, and this is how a clot is formed. After clot formation, there comes a yellowish color, straw colored, okay, dried grass, straw colored fluid, which fluid portion of the blood which oozes out after clot formation is called as serum. Okay. So, this is how a clot forms, and generally it takes 3 to 6 minutes to form a clot. Okay, not more than 6 minutes. If the time exceeds, it indicates a diseased condition, means the blood is taking more time to clot. Sometimes it does not clot at all, and what happens? The bleeding continues and the person dies. So, that condition is called as hemophilia. Okay, it is a genetic disorder. It is a genetic disorder. Okay, when close relatives marry and their offspring, means their children will be having this kind of genetic problem. Their blood does not clot. Okay, and vitamin K is an important thing which has its role in clotting the blood. What will vitamin K do? It will help the clotting factors to become active, and it will ensure that the blood clots on time. So, vitamin K is found in green leafy vegetables, and also the useful bacteria which are generally present inside our gut, they also produce the vitamin K needed by our body. Okay. So, so this is in brief about how the circulatory system evolved and about BP and coagulation of blood, and in tomorrow's video we will see how the water and nutrients are transported in plants. Okay. Thank you, children.